Let us discuss about magnetic potentials. Before starting with magnetic potentials, let us recall about some properties of magnetic fields. Magnetic flux density is one property of magnetic fields where magnetic flux density can be written in terms of magnetic field intensity with respect to permeability. If we consider free space, magnetic flux density can be written as mu naught times vector H, where B is magnetic flux density and H is magnetic field intensity. From this density, we can relate the magnetic flux. Magnetic flux can be said as integration of flux density over a given surface area. Or we can say magnetic flux density is evaluation of magnetic flux per unit area. The units for magnetic flux and flux density are as given. Unit of magnetic flux is Weber or Henry amperes, and magnetic flux density can be given as Weber per meter square or Tesla. Another one important characteristics of magnetic fields is that magnetic field lines are always closed lines. This also proves that there is no magnetic monopoles existing in reality. So in that case, if we consider a closed surface, number of magnetic flux lines leaving the closed surface and number of magnetic flux lines entering the closed surface is equal, and thereby total flux crossing any closed surface will be equal to zero. This can be written as Gauss law for magnetic fields. Then we can write the Gauss law for magnetic fields in integral form and differential form. Those two equations forms Maxwell's equations. So if we consider magnetic flux around a closed surface integration is equal to zero in integral form, this is the Maxwell's equation from Gauss law for magnetic fields in integral form. We can represent the same equation as a differential equation by applying a well-known theorem, that is divergence theorem. Closed surface integration of any vector is equal to volume integration of divergence of that vector. This is the statement of divergence theorem. When we apply for this integral equation, instead of closed surface integration of B in the left hand side, we can apply divergence theorem and write in the form of volume integration divergence of B. That is equal to 0. Any integral can be 0 if the integrand is 0, and thereby we can write del dot B is equal to 0. This is the differential equation stating the Gauss law for magnetic fields. Now, similar to electric potential, we are going to consider the magnetic potentials. So, analogous to the electric scalar potential, we can define the magnetic scalar potential. So, we will recall the concept of electric fields where work done can be represented as minus q line integration E dot dl. If I consider around a closed loop, this closed line integration E dot dl is 0 because the initial point and the final point remains the same. So initial and final limits, if it is same for any integration, then that integration will be equal to 0. And we call this type of electric field as conservative electric field. And we can define electric potential from this work done as work done per unit charge, where the work done is taken from this equation. Per unit charge will give the expression for scalar potential in case of electric fields. And one important thing is work done remains same irrespective of the path chosen from the initial point to the final point. It can be a straight line joining the initial and final point, or it can be any curved line. The work done is independent of the path. So when we represent the potentials for electric field as a scalar, again this integration is independent of the path because this equation is derived from the definition of work done. And from this, we can write electric field intensity in terms of electric scalar potential as negative potential gradient. This is a well-known derivation which we have already derived. Now, in a similar way, we can represent the relation between potential to magnetic fields in case of magnetic fields. Before going to that, let us recall some important concepts of vector calculus. These two vector identities are true for all scalar and vector fields. If I consider a scalar field alpha, curl of gradient of that scalar field is always zero, which means the gradient of any scalar field is a field again that is not circulating in nature, or that is irrotational, that is given by the vector identity number 1 as per this PPT. Now, if we consider the second vector identity, that is divergence of curl of a vector is always zero. This curl of a vector indicates a rotational vector. If a vector is rotational in nature, it will not be diverging in nature. So this is the meaning of the second vector identity, where divergence of curl of a vector field is always zero. This second vector identity is true for any vector, and the first vector identity is true for any scalar alpha. So remembering these two equations, we are going to discuss about the magnetic scalar potentials. In a similar way of E vector to potential relation, here if we define H vector to magnetic potential relation, then H vector can be written as negative potential gradient, where this V suffix m indicates magnetic scalar potential, which is given in the units of amperes. From this, we can represent potential for magnetic fields as a scalar as minus line integration H dot dl. This is similar to the electric field and the potential relation, but the difference is, in case of electric fields, this integration is independent of the path because work done is independent of the path. But in case of magnetic fields, this magnetic scalar potential is specific to each path. And when we try to check the validity of this magnetic scalar potential equation, we can use a well-known law which we have already discussed, that is Ampere's circular law of magnetostatics, which is curl of H is equal to current density vector J. So let us try to find the significance or validity of equation number 1 with respect to Ampere's circular law. So taking equation number 1, finding curl of H and equating it to current density, that's what we are going to do. Now, curl of H will be evaluated. That is, the left-hand side of equation number 1 will become del cross H, and the right-hand side will become del cross minus del Vm. So this del cross H will be written as J vector, and this right-hand side can be written as del cross del Vm. Now, when we look at this expression and the vector identity just now we have discussed, curl of gradient of a scalar is always a zero vector. So this curl of gradient of scalar potential Vm is a zero vector. So this makes our current density becoming zero. Hence, there is a restriction for defining magnetic scalar potential. That is, this magnetic scalar potential represented as H is equal to minus del Vm, or Vm is equal to minus line integration H dot dl, is defined only if current density is zero. So only if this condition is true, this kind of magnetic scalar potentials can be defined for magnetic fields. Now, if we want to define if we want to define magnetic potential, which is true irrespective of whether current density is zero or non-zero, we need to represent the potential in the form of vectors, where if we define magnetic scalar potential, that can be defined only if current density is zero. Hence, we are moving to a vector representation of the potential instead of a scalar potential. Let us consider the vector potential as vector A, and we should check when this A vector, whether it is zero or non-zero with respect to any magnetic field loss we are going to verify. So let us take our Gauss law for magnetostatics in differential equation form, that is del dot B equal to 0. And when we recall the second vector identity, divergence of a vector can be zero only if that is a curl of another vector. So if we write this B vector as curl of vector A, then we can say this vector A as magnetic vector potential, which is defined for magnetic fields. So del dot del cross A is zero as per this second standard vector identity. That is in corollary or in similarity with our Gauss law for magnetic fields. So instead of B vector, we can write del cross A, and this B relation to del cross A equates A as a vector magnetic potential defined. So this vector magnetic potential expression can be obtained from magnetic flux density and magnetic field intensity relations. We know magnetic flux density can be represented as mu times magnetic field intensity. And we also can write magnetic flux density as del cross A, where A is the vector magnetic potential. Equating these two, we can write mu naught H is equal to del cross A. From this, we can solve for finding the expression for vector magnetic potential. That derivation is out of the syllabus. So we are taking the final expression obtained as a result of the solution. Thereby, vector magnetic potential A can be represented as mu naught by 4 pi r I dl integrated over the closed loop if I consider a line current producing the magnetic field. And this magnetic vector potential has the unit Henry ampere per meter or Weber per meter. Instead of line current, if we have a surface current, then instead of current element IDL, we can write KDS. And the integration will be over mu naught KDS by 4 pi r over the surface of the current element. And instead of line or surface, if we have a volume carrying current, then we can replace IDL with JdV, and the integration is volume integration over mu naught JdV by 4 pi r. So these are the definitions for scalar and vector magnetic potentials, where scalar magnetic potential is true or valid only if current density is zero, whereas this vector magnetic potential can be defined where current density can be zero or non-zero both. Next, let us continue our analysis or comparison between magnetic fields and electric fields. We had Laplace equations and Poisson's equations for electric fields. In a similar way, what we represented the Laplace and Poisson's equations for electric field, we can define Laplace and Poisson's equations for magnetostatics. We can start from Gauss law for magnetostatics here in this case, where del dot B is 0. Instead of B, we can write mu naught H, and we can write del dot H is equal to 0. If I consider H in terms of the scalar magnetic potential, which is minus del Vm, this is true only if current density is 0. Instead of H, I can write del Vm, and thereby this equation del dot del Vm is equal to 0 can be written as del square Vm, where del square is the Laplacian equation. So this equation is similar to our Laplace equation for electrostatics, and hence we call this as Laplace equation for magnetostatics. But the only condition is this del square Vm is equal to 0 under the condition where current density is 0. This is true, or this Laplace equation for magnetostatics is true only if current density is 0. Next, we will look at the Poisson's equation for magnetostatics, which can be used or which can be derived using vector magnetic potential. B is equal to del cross A. Starting from this, we can write B as mu naught H, and we can also represent del cross H equal to J vector, which is Ampere circuital law for magnetostatics. From all these three relations, we can derive the Poisson's equation for magnetostatics. Starting from del cross H equal to J, instead of H, we can write B by mu naught from the relation between B and H. And instead of B, we can write del cross A. So we have curl of a vector here. And curl of a vector has a standard vector representation, that is del of del dot A, gradient of divergence of A minus Laplacian of vector A. So this is the equivalence of curl of a vector, and we can represent del of del dot A minus del square A is equal to mu naught J. And we can also state for magnetostatics, divergence of magnetic vector potential is zero, because of the reason that magnetic field lines are not diverging in nature. And also from the standard vector identities which we discussed, we can say del dot A is equal to 0. So divergence of magnetic flux density is 0, and hence we will be resulting with it. The equation becomes minus del square A is equal to mu naught J, or del square A can be written as minus mu naught J. This is similar to our Poisson's equation for electric fields, which is del square V equal to minus rho V by epsilon. This equation can be now said as Poisson's equation for magnetostatics. I will continue with analogous relationship between electric and magnetic fields before concluding this video lecture. So the basic laws of electric and magnetic fields and the parameters are listed in comparison in this slide. We can check here Coulomb's force, and the analogous relation for magnetic fields is the Biot-Savart law. And this equation is our Gauss law for electric fields. Similar to that, we have Ampere-Circuital law for magnetic field. And electric force can be written as Q times E vector. Magnetic force can be written as Q times velocity cross B vector. And field intensity and potential relation can be written as E is equal to potential per unit length, and magnetic field intensity and current relation can be written as current per unit length, and hence the units for electric field intensity is volt per meter, and for magnetic field intensity is ampere per meter. And flux density for electric fields is electric flux per unit surface area, which is Coulomb per meter square. And for magnetic flux density, it is magnetic flux per unit surface area, which is Weber per meter square. And relationship between the fields and flux density, D is equal to epsilon E, where epsilon is the permittivity of the medium, and B can be represented as mu H, where mu is the permeability of the medium. And the potential relations, we can write electric field is minus del V, where V is the scalar electric potential and E is the electric field intensity vector. And the similar or analogous relation in magnetic field we can give in terms of scalar magnetic potential Vm, but this equation is true only if current density is 0. And the potential V can be represented as Q by 4 pi epsilon r. For a line charge, we can write it as line integral rho L dl by 4 pi epsilon r. An analogous relation to magnetic potential for vector magnetic potential we have discussed. It is mu by 4 pi r ideal integrated over the closed loop. And similar to the flux and flux density relation for electric field, here we have magnetic flux and flux density relation, and we have capacitance in electric field and inductance in magnetic field. Energy density in electric field is half D dot E vector, and energy density in magnetic field is half B dot H vector. Then Poisson's equation for electric field is del square V is minus rho V by epsilon. Poisson's equation for magnetic fields is del square vector A is equal to minus mu vector J. Here you can find rho V, that is the volume charge density, is the source of electric field, and here this current density is the source of magnetic field. We have already discussed about Maxwell's 4 equations for time varying fields. Now let us discuss about Maxwell's equations for stationary fields, non-time varying fields, or we can say static electric and magnetic fields. So we can write Gauss law for electric field and magnetic field as the two Maxwell's equations for static fields as del dot D equal to rho V And the integral equation is closed surface integration d dot ds is equal to volume integration rho v dv. This is Gauss law for electric field. And the second one is Gauss law for magnetic fields, which is divergence of flux density is 0 or closed surface integration b dot ds equal to 0. This also says non-existence of magnetic monopoles. And we already have discussed work done around a closed path is 0, where E vector is the conservative electric field. So this conservative nature of electric field can be represented in integral equation as closed line integration E dot dl equal to 0. And the same can be represented in differential form as del cross E equal to 0. Then Ampere's circuital law for magnetostatics can be written as with only current density, which is conduction current density J vector, no displacement current density because this is not time varying fields. So del cross H is equal to J vector is the Ampere's law for magnetostatics. And in the integral form, we have closed line integration H dot dl is equal to current enclosed, where current enclosed can be written in terms of current density as surface integration of current density. So these are the four equations of Maxwell's for static, electric, and magnetic fields. If question is asked like derive the Maxwell's equations for static fields, then you have to list these four equations. If the question is asked to derive, then you have to derive these expressions. If the question is asked to list the Maxwell's equations for static fields, then you have to list these four equations where all the time varying terms become zero. In case of Faraday's law, that is del cross E is equal to minus dou B by dou T. This was the equation for time varying fields. Here, when we talk about static fields, this time variation will not be there. So variation of B with respect to time will be 0, and thereby we are left with del cross E equal to 0 as the equation for static fields. And same way, closed line integration E dot dl will become 0. This is the case of static, electric, and magnetic fields. And similar to this, when we discuss about the Ampere circuital law for static fields, it is only conduction current density Jc. In case of time varying fields, we had the time varying parameter, which is my dou d by dou t in addition. This is the displacement current density. If time variation is not there in case of static fields, this time varying parameter will be 0, and thereby our Ampere's law will be del cross H is equal to only conduction current density Jc. And similarly, the integral equation will have only the conduction current density term contributing to the current. So only conduction current will be present, where displacement current is 0 in case of static fields.